Hi, I'm Morven. I love the craft behind winemaking and love hearing good stories about great wine. But wine still intimidates me, and here's the clanger: I work in the wine industry. If it intimidates someone who works amongst it, how on earth do the normal folk get on out there? People who just like to drink the stuff and don't want to engage in all the wine wank. Not Serious Wine Chats originated in Melbourne, the dream child of a good pal, Dominique, who owns her own restaurants and shares my frustrations. After much lamenting over Zoom chats and wine, we agreed that Aotearoa could do with some Not Serious Wine Chats too. The deal is no big words, no agendas, and no wine reviews. We're not here to judge the winemaker or the wine drinker. We just want to chat about wine and other delicious beverages that float our boat and make our day. Welcome to Not Serious Wine Chats. Hi, I'm Morven, and today I'm joined by Pete and John from By the Bottle as we host winemaker Dave Mackintosh to talk about his new wine venture, Kenzie. Family is important to this laddie. After years of making wine in Australia under the family wine brand Arfion, Dave and his wife, Caitlin, had returned to New Zealand to explore the legacy left by some of their stoic Scottish ancestors. Indeed, Kenzie draws its name from Annabella MacKenzie, Dave's great-granny, who survived months in a boat on the ocean, the Great Depression and the Napier earthquake to put down new roots in the hope of starting a better life. She ought to be proud. The wines crafted in her honour pay homage by stylistically challenging the norms while artistically yet firmly stating their place. It was lovely to be introduced to Dave by the good folk at By the Bottle. We chatted away like old pals in a pub. So pour yourself a wee dram of something bonny, pack a plate of taties to go with it, and rest up for a wee spell of curry. This is the Not Serious Dave Mackintosh chat. Welcome to Not Serious Wine Chats, Dave. In the podcast studio, we've got Dave Mackintosh from Kenzie Wines.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
How am I?
Yeah, kia ora.
Up in the big smoke.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, just up here, selling booze as you do around this kind of period. Spring and summer is when people should be drinking if we had any nice weather, you know.
Yeah, that's right. And you were telling me that Auckland's kind of, you split your time. So you're between Auckland and Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, in between Auckland and Hawke's Bay. Hawke's Bay is where I was born. It's where my family's from, where they first came over from Scotland.
Yes.
So that's really where I kind of connect to in the land kind of sense. And my wife's family's from Auckland. I lived here before I went to Australia. So yeah, lots of my mates are up here. So I kind of split my time. It's not the most ideal thing that you could have, but COVID and everything like that didn't let you have any ideal kind of life, I guess, you know.
Yeah. So when did you come back? Did you guys come back right on COVID, did you?
So July 2021 we came back.
Right.
So it was we got locked down pretty hard in Melbourne.
Yes,
so we got locked down for a long time, 12 months out of 18 months pretty much it felt like. So it was just time to kind of move back, and then that was kind of the kick in the arse to really move back, was that. But what made us come back was really to make wine out of New Zealand. I've been in Australia for 16 years, making wines at Giant Steps and then under my own label, and then I really needed to have this kind of emotional attachment to the land, and I didn't quite have that in Australia, I guess.
Right.
So I'll tell you the instance really that kind of made me really want to get back, and that was when I was getting a little bit of Riesling just outside of Healesville in the Yarra Valley.
Yeah.
Was on a section of land that was the old Corranderk Station.
Yeah.
Corranderk Station was an old Aboriginal reserve.
Right.
And it was started by William Barrack, and it was a government-run kind of thing. So about 40 to 70 Aboriginals were pretty much marched off their land north of Healesville over what's called the Black Spur. It used to be called the Blacks Spur.
Right.
An amazing piece of road.
Yeah.
But they were pretty much transferred off their land because that was really highly valuable agricultural land.
Soil.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then they were put down onto this kind of reserve, and it was run by a guy called William Barrack, and he worked closely with the Dupury family, which is Yeringberg.
Right.
And they kind of were mates. They worked together. They used to kind of have their farms and work together and sell into Melbourne. And it was a really successful farming community. Then they obviously got so successful that farmers around went, we want that land.
Right.
And so then they got moved on from that down to Gippsland, further south, which is awesome land down there too.
Right.
when I was standing, that vineyard was on that land. And as I was standing on it, looking at this Riesling, I could look across and I could see the cemetery, and William Barrack, who was an amazing Aboriginal leader and artist, I could see his, the cemetery and see his headstone and whatever from there, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't know if I deserve this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't where I'm from. Like, I think in wine there is obviously a huge attachment to the land.
Yeah.
And Hawke's Bay or Te Matawa Maui is where my family's from.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the land that I look at, and I remember them, I get inspiration from them, and I was like, okay, I need to get back to that. Coming from Scotland too, my family over there, where they're from, the north of Scotland, like Highlands, Inverness, like all around that kind of section, Bucky, which is where my great-grandmother's from. But so as soon as they had the opportunity to come out, they were like, yeah, let's do it. And it was, during that time, like my great-grandmother came over here in 1923. Yeah. So that's what Kenzie's named after, is my great-grandmother, Annabella MacKenzie, who was an amazing inspiration for generations of our family. Yeah. Just independent, strong, hard-out Scottish woman, really. Yeah. So she came over in 1923, and followed my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather came out with and sailed a fishing boat out here called the Futurist in 1921, so like 2 years earlier. Wow. So he just came out with that boat. You imagine even that journey would have been hectic.
And intense, yeah.
And so my great-grandmother, who had lost her fiancé to the Spanish flu in 1918, right. She grew up on... So they were fisher people, or fisher folk was what they were called. Yeah. So you'd have like one fisherman who would be out, and it was always a fisherman, always a dude who was on the boats, because it was unlucky to have females on boats. Yes. That was how they did it. So there was like one who was out at sea, a fisherman, and then there were like 4 fisher folk, and a lot of that were women who worked on the land, shores, on the wharves and stuff. So my great-grandmother was one of those, and she started doing that when she was about 12 or 13, Right. It was because there was no money, it was pretty downtrodden. So her fiancé kind of died. Then she met my great-grandfather. He said, look, there's an opportunity to go out to New Zealand. Yeah. He came out and kind of started his fishing business, and then sent word for her and he left with the promise from her that she would come with him. So it was about 1923. She jumps on, it was like 3 months or 4 months or something on a boat. Would have been crazy experience by herself. She left her family, never saw her mother again. That was just the deal, right? Like after the First World War, sorry. Yeah. And I was thinking about it yesterday. I actually did a post on Instagram, and I was like, man, that's like everybody's family would have that kind of story. That's just that moment in time was just pretty hectic. Yeah.
And sort of brutal, in terms of people leaving and might not ever seeing their family again, like it's unreal.
Yeah, and my grandmother never saw her mum again, and that really cut up my great-great-grandmother, that cut her up pretty bad. Yeah. My great-grandmother did go back and would converse quite a bit, but it's lucky for us though that she made that decision, and that's why I say, she was so inspirational to us. Yeah. As the next generations and whatever, and especially my mother, where she took that massive risk. Yeah. She came out, she had nothing. Yeah. She literally came over with a spoon, this silver spoon. Yeah. And that was the only thing she could bring because she was on a boat, and that was her link to her past. Yeah. It's quite incredible, but then she went through the Great Depression here. Yeah. She went through the Napier or the Hawke's Bay.
We've done it tough with COVID, man.
Totally. Building that little bit of stuff, like that whole generation is so strong.
And then the earthquake, of course.
Yeah, 1931.
31, yes.
So that was pretty incredible. So she lost her, my great-grandfather was out at sea, so he had no idea. Oh. And so my...
that would be surreal, wouldn't it? Going off fishing and coming back and your town's gone.
Just on fire, it was just on fire.
Random.
Yeah, and so, my great-grandmother didn't see her oldest daughter for about 8 or 9 hours, couldn't find her, because they, they just went out. So the funny thing is then, and it wouldn't happen now, but they literally went to the beach. Right. And so it was a massive earthquake, and they're like, oh, what's the safest spot? So they went to the beach, and it was like, that's the last thing you do now, right? Because it's tsunamis and stuff. Yeah.
So Kenzie is named after your great-grandmother?
Yes, that's right.
And did they call her Kenzie, or was that your
we used to call her Nana Kenzie.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Or Nana Kenzie, just like an abbreviation. So Arfion, which is my company, and Australia means our wine. And so my great-grandmother used
In
to...
Gaelic.
In Gaelic,
Right, yeah.
So my great-grandmother used to introduce us as our Davy or our
Right.
James or our Robbo or whatever. And so it was like that introduction. So I had called it after that in the Gaelic.
So how does that sound? Arf David, does it? Is it,
No,
is
it's
it Arf?
Arfion.
But
Or if
if
you're
they
doing
were
that.
introducing you...
Yeah, I'm not even sure. But no, she wouldn't use Gaelic. She would use...
Oh, yeah. I
that-
got you. I've got you.
so
Yes.
that had been kind of knocked out of them.
Yeah, I'll
quite a few
Dave.
generations.
Yeah, kind of.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
So having established Arfion,
Mm.
it's quite a big decision to choose a new name and sort of start again and rebrand as such. What was that sort of... Why did you decide not to just bring your already really well-established label Arfion over to New Zealand?
It was kind of to differentiate the two, because
Yeah.
I still make a little bit of Arfion in Australia.
Right.
So it just would have been confusing out in the marketplace maybe for people to see Arfion as being both. And it also gave me the opportunity to freshen it up,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And to, like, I'm constantly thinking about wine, and I'm constantly thinking about artworks that can relate to wine.
Yeah.
And then it's freshed it up, so the label's really different. The labels are my own paintings or friends that have kind of done with Kenzie.
Oh, are they? I was going to ask, because the art and the music comes through really, it's obviously the foundation or the pillars of sort of how you start your thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I think I get inspiration from so many different angles.
Yeah.
And so the inspiration, first of all, like the kind of foundation to me would be the family kind of link and to land, because farmers and fishermen and whatever is my history of my family. And so I've got that constant link there. But then when it comes to specific wines, it'll be, music and art. And I've always been quite artistic, not so much musical apart from listening to it. But I've always painted, always drawn. And I've I think about wine, and I think wouldn't it be cool to get the emotion you have when you listen to a song, or the emotion that you have when you look at an artwork and go, how can I translate that into my most creative outlet, which is making wine? So can I make people feel that way? Can I make, get that and show that, I guess. But also, it's showing my influence, how I get influenced by art and whatever. So each wine out of kind of Kenzie, especially the early releases, are quite... each wine has its own little story. There's a reason for it being there, not just single vineyard, single variety. And those will come like... and to me, single vineyard, single variety is more craft-driven. And so rather than artistic in its sense. Whereas with blends, I think that's the most artistic way you can make wine, because you're creating this whole new thing. So it's more of an abstract kind of...
Yeah, so craft is almost sort of the technique.
Yeah.
But the sort of the artistic is kind of you've got these ingredients and kind of let them rip with them a bit.
Yeah, and kind of working intuitively, so kind of flowing through and coming from like this idea of what the wine needs to be, rather than when you're doing a single vineyard, single variety, that's literally trying to show the best Chardonnay from that site. Whereas when I'm doing like a blend, like this one that we'll taste, which is Pinot Chardonnay, this is all about a style, showing that kind of style and whatever. So a good friend of mine, Steve Flamsteed, who is at Giant Steps, and I learned under him.
A bit of a legend in Australia.
Yeah, and the nicest dude. He doesn't believe wine's artistic. He believes it's more of a craft, but his history is he was a chef and he was a cheesemaker. And he was a failed clown too. He wanted to be in the circus real early on.
What the hell? What?
Yeah, it's amazing. He's a great dude.
A failed clown, though.
He tried. I think he auditioned.
Kids did not like him.
Yeah.
He
A lot of people are
auditioned.
clowns without trying.
That's right.
So to fail.
We're all failed clowns, aren't we? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he could only do a couple of backflips. He couldn't do anything else or something. But no, he's an absolute legend. But he believes wine's more of a craft,
right?
I guess. And I think about this quite a lot. And I think, well, just like wine's the quality or values in the eye of the beholder, the drinker.
Yeah.
I think as a maker too, how you make wine is how you live your life a little bit too, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So he thinks it's a craft, so he does it more craft-like. Whereas I've always been, and he's not really artistic.
Yeah. Do you sort of mean a bit more sciencey? Is that what you mean, or no, not at all?
No, science is in it on both angles, I think, for me and for him, I guess. That's always there. That's like the backbone, I think.
Yeah.
But it's how I approach the making of it, maybe.
Got you.
He's more into that craft thing, whereas for me, because I've always thought artistically, I think of wine more in that artistic sense, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a little bit naff, the whole art versus science kind of thing with wine, right? We've been talking about it forever, but the more I delve into it, I'm like, well, it's just how I approach it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just, that's how I approach it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then interestingly, your background in terms of your introduction to making wine is super technical, commercial.
Yeah, for sure. So my first probably major job was as assistant winemaker at Oyster Bay.
Yeah.
So up here, making a hell of a lot of Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
But that literally almost sucked all the soul out of wine for me. Not like that has its place, that kind of wine, but it's just for me.
It's the gateway drug for most of our punters, isn't it?
Totally, but for me, it's just not really where I go. And so when I went to Brokenwood in 2006, so I was at Oyster Bay for 4 years. I went to Brokenwood, and that's like a university of wine there. It's just so passionate.
So you know
amazing.
Stu Holden, do you?
He wasn't there when I was there, so it was PJ Charteris.
Yeah.
So I reckon two of my kind of mentors would be PJ Charteris and Steve Flamsteed, really. Almost not always in just how they make wine, or the wines that they make, more just how they approach wine and how they hold themselves with wine, how they talk about wine.
PJ, he's another Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
And thoughtful, very thoughtful man, isn't he?
Yeah, totally. And he talks about wine, and he's always fun with it. And, he's a good dude. And then Sarah Crowe was there at the same time too, who's the head winemaker at Yara. Yes. So this wine, how I was kind of saying that each wine has a specific kind of story, I guess.
Yeah.
This all was born out of lockdown.
Right.
Really. So as I was saying, we got locked down pretty hard.
Yeah.
He had way too much time to think.
Yeah.
And normally I just think in the car and about things or whatever. And I was just having a bit of a thing, listening to music. And so I was listening to Al Michaels Affair, Al Michel's Affair. I don't know how you pronounce it, but a song called Tears, which was a remake of a Wu-Tang track called Tears.
Yes.
And the main line in that was, after the laughter comes tears.
Yeah.
And for me, that was man, this is exactly what COVID was. It was everything was going so swimmingly.
Yeah.
In 2019, and then 2020 started to, that hit, and it was just bam.
Yeah.
We had to go through all of that.
Yeah.
I was and then I was, daydreaming almost, and I was thinking about 90s hip-hop, because I love 90s hip-hop.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about 90s wine, and I was thinking, what was 90s wine all about? And I was it was big-ass Cabernets.
Yeah.
Buttery, oaky Chardonnays, right?
And at that point in time, were you thinking 90s Australian wine or 90s?
I think kind of both, when I first got into wine in New Zealand, it was 90s Cabernet out of Hawke's Bay. Where I'm I went the almost opposite way with Pinot Noir and Chardonnay with most of my making.
Yeah.
So that 90s thing, and then it kind of got me into Cristal, which was that full champagne hip hop connection that they hated. And then
Moet. Champagne hated.
I think Cristal didn't really dig it, and then I was thinking about Moet, and how was all this grandiose kind of wine. Everything was big and showy and Louis Vuitton lifestyles and whatever. And I was it'd be cool to make a wine made out of the same varieties as champagne, which is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay predominantly.
Yeah.
But make it almost the antithesis of that showy kind of thing. Just have a delicious drink. It was 10.5%.
Yeah.
The label was quite pop art, kind of 90s pop art that I painted. And just have one that, kind of took the piss out of that a little bit.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. But anyway, in the end, it's supposed to just be a really delicious drink too. So the key to my winemaking is that the first glass has to be really easy and delicious.
Yeah.
And if you want to then delve down into how I made it or where it's from or anything like that, then you can. But your first sip, your first glass should almost be like that cold beer after a really hard day at work.
It's definitely got that. That's right. It's definitely got that really lovely refreshing palate expression, hasn't it?
And would you recommend listening to 36 Chambers while you're drinking this?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know, up there with the best hip hop album of all time, probably.
I spent a lot of time yesterday
Mm.
listening to the Al Michelle affair.
Yeah.
Cool little remixes there, eh?
Yeah, man, it's definitely getting down to it.
I think around 2010s, you know, that was whenever it came out. That was literally in every single cafe and bar in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like they were just playing that like all over.
Yeah.
Bit like
'Cause it was
Fat
so
Freddy's, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. Like all my wines should be pretty delicious to start out. But you can delve down and you see what it is. So I call this a white noir. So it's Pinot Noir and Chardonnay that a whole bunch pressed into tank. Full Malo, no adds apart from sulphur, all of the above. So it's not quite like a rosé, but it's got, you know, that hint there.
I mean, it would appeal to a lot of people because it's got a very sort of rosé-esque, you know, sort of. I mean, in this light in our little studio, it's quite hard to see if it's sort of
dark,
pink or
yeah.
orange. Yes, and it's a wee bit orangey light, or really, well, that Chinese lantern gives it a kind of a red go. So, so is it sort of orangey, or is it actually more rosé colour?
More rosé colour.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And
right.
I think
It's a Pinot, right?
yeah, that's right. Always has that bit of colour, and
Yeah.
I think in the future it'll have a little bit more Chardonnay, but Chardonnay was it was quite a hard year for Chardonnay in the Hawke's Bay in 2022. So we've got like a La Nina pattern, which just means there's a bit more rain on the east coast. It kind of sits there, where normally the east coast would be pretty dry.
And have you your vineyards? So have you got your own vineyards, or are you sourcing at the moment?
No, I'm sourcing at the moment. From predominantly organic, but then also a few sustainable vineyards.
Yeah.
So this one's actually in a sub-region which is pretty amazing called Mangatahi. Yeah. It's a river terrace that's been formed by the Aotearoa River over about 15,000, 20,000 years. Yeah. And this is on pretty much a terrace that then leads into a cliff, like a 40-metre cliff, and then down onto another terrace, and then onto the Aotearoa River where it is now. And it's got like this awesome ash layer about 80 centimetres down from some eruptions in the central plateau.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of where they were, if it was Taupo or what, but the main Taupo eruption was like 25,000 years ago. Yeah. And so I'm not quite sure exactly when that is. Yeah. I'll learn that over time, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
So sourcing from different kind of spots, and like the first year back, I guess, not really knowing where I fit within the New Zealand kind of winescape. I guess I was like, let's do a bit of a fruit salad. Let's just do these ideas that I really believe in, that I think, okay, you know, let's see what the trade's going to be like. Let's see what they're going to like over in Aussie and whatever. The one thing for me was that, you know, I needed to get it from independent growers who respected their land, who loved their land and that I could connect with. And so the whole thing with wine in general was all just these connections. So whether it's like the sun connecting with how much rain you've got that year, or the soil that you've got, it's everything in between the elements. That's the important thing with wine. And so for me, I needed to have a good connection with people who are selling it, and then people who are making it, and then make sure, you know, everyone's on kind of the same wavelength and being good people, you know.
And that's what you want the people who enjoy drinking it to feel that, right? And it sort of translates, doesn't it?
Was that easy to find, those connections?
Well, I had a lot of help from Amy Hopkinson Styles, right? And so she's the winemaker with her husband Ollie at Halcyon Wines, and Halcyon Wines. She's amazing. So she's an amazing woman, makes great wines, and she helped me out a huge amount. So the head winemaker at Craigie Range is Julian Grounds, and I've known him from the Yarra for a long time, and he gave me the contact with Amy, and then we started talking. Got on like a house on fire. She reckons it's because we're both Librans. I'm not sure. I don't know if I believe in that stuff, but we got on really well, and then we worked together, similar vineyards, and then similar contacts, and then I just kind of branched out from there. You know, Warren Gibson from Balancha, Trinity Hill, is also a good friend, so he helped me out, and just trying to find these connections and see where you sit. I'm not quite there yet, but yeah.
And at the moment, because your wife and your kids, what's your wife's name, sorry? Caitlin. So Caitlin and the kids are up in Auckland, and you're down in Hawke's Bay. Are you looking to move to Hawke's Bay effectively once the kids are done school?
Yeah, for sure. It's still a little bit kind of open. Like like I spent six months of my year down there. Obviously, all of vintage down there. Especially last one, which was like the whole Omicron COVID thing. I was there for like 3 months without seeing the kids. So it wasn't ideal, but long term it'll be purchasing land. I think I just needed this first year after everything, moving back. It's a pretty big transition to pull your whole business back and do things, just to see where you're at, and not try and rush things. I think sometimes you can go a bit too hard, but too early, and it's just more like, let's just see what happens, see if I connect again with how the wines, what the vineyards are kind of showing me, and then go
What's
from there.
Caitlin's background? Is she into wine? Like, is she involved in wine, or she just enjoys drinking?
No, I think I swung it to being with me because I would. We were living together in Greyland.
Yeah.
When I was working at Oyster Bay, so I come home with like samples. Like,
were you flatmates?
Yeah, we're flatmates.
Oh, look out!
Isn't that how everyone like meets people? Anyway.
Yeah.
So I just come home with like a bottle of Oyster Bay or whatever, which would have been off the line, just like samples and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I remember she'd have a glass of that and then go off to the gym or whatever. And, then she went overseas for a couple of years and came back but no, she drinks all my wine. She likes it. She tells me she likes it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's a good start.
Her background's more in fashion.
Yeah.
So kind of more fast fashion kind of stuff. So working for intermediaries that work with like Sports Girl and Suzanne's and all of those kind of brands. And then now she's working for a place called the Sleep Store. Yeah. Which she does like production and management of that. And which is like kids stuff.
Family's quite. So you're. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Arfion, that was family involvement too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's my bro Jimmy and my father.
Yeah.
Brian. So my dad was a agricultural scientist for Watties.
Right.
So he grew up on the farm at Putorui North, and then he got off the farm and became a agricultural scientist, like doing early on like peaches and pears and stuff for Watties that then got bought out by Heinz and all of that. Knows his potatoes, Knows his potatoes, his
and
carrots,
tomatoes too,
things.
probably. He's probably a Watties guy.
All of the above.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to do quite a bit of show judging in Australia, and I was at the 2010 Melbourne show. And the person who was working at Seppelsfield pulled out an 1895 Seppelsfield Para, which is like a liqueur kind of tawny.
Amazing.
1895, and you're like looking at it, and you almost don't feel worthy because it was 115 years old. And you're looking at it, it's almost like treacle, like real coffee, really sweet, quite crazy. But I was like, whoa, like what were they wearing? There were no cars. Were they listening to music? What was what was that? Like, and that's the amazing thing with wine, right? It's that captures that sense of place and time, like so amazingly. I don't know if there's another product. Like beer doesn't do it. Cider might do it. Eric Bordelais or something, might get there. But wine's pretty amazing like that. It captures
and
it.
that we give our attention to so much. We sit and talk over a glass of wine about what's in our glass. To a degree that, there are a few other products that get that kind of intense attention.
And certainly such a positive social sort of, celebratory or, it's
marks occasions.
Bringing people together.
It's also pretty incredible, isn't it, that from it can be a daily, like it's a I don't want to say product because it doesn't actually give it the right value that I'm meaning, but it's something that we can enjoy on the daily. But then when you do actually have those moments, I was at an event recently where we served a 1996 Chateau de Kim, and looking at the same thing and sort of, knowing the history, I was talking to the guys I was working with, we were talking about, back in the good old days of sort of, when the French just everything got put on the table, there was no entree, main, dessert. That was a Russian thing. It was actually the Russians that actually introduced
the breakdown,
the sort of courses.
Having the entree, then having a main. Whereas before that, everything got put out, so there would be pudding next to pork and all that sort of stuff. And I've discovered this old recipe, this old menu of a Louis XVI dinner party, and Chateau de Kim was poured the entire dinner. It was the only wine, and it was poured for the whole meal. So it didn't matter if you were eating your fancy crepe at the end of the dinner with the sweeties on it, or your, you know, pork belly, you know, that was the wine that went with it. And it actually does when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it is that sort of that historical, like, holy shit, this is sort of incredible that this is the same stuff that, you know, clearly not that vintage, but, you know, like, it is.
From the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the European history is quite incredible, you know, like 500 years or whatever of making wine, and the monks doing it back in Burgundy and all of that. We're trying to squeeze it into 50 years, you know, and get to the same level.
And have you done much, so have you done a lot of sort of winemaking in Europe or maybe in the States, or, you know, if you...
Yeah, like into the States. Because I always had like full-time jobs rather than the whole vintage. Like, so I had full-time jobs where I see the whole process go through, and so I've only done Aussie vintages, New Zealand, Oregon and Burgundy. Yeah. So I didn't really do that whole, because I was working full-time, it was harder to bounce around, do that whole flying winemaker type of thing. But yeah, lots of travel. Yeah. So I don't think now, after I've done 26 vintages now. Yeah. I don't think I could go and do a vintage overseas.
Pretty good for that sort of history.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I don't think vintage would be the one. It's more like going there and then, like Burgundy especially. So you always would, you know, doing your WSET kind of courses and stuff, you'd look at a map and go, oh yeah, this is next to this, and Chambol's here, and Gevrey's here, and whatever. You look at that map, but you don't understand it. I didn't understand how the land was formed until I was standing there and going, okay, why is Gevrey so much bigger? And it's because the water cut through the hillside and then has a bigger alluvial fan, and so it's bigger because that's where all these villages are and are formed. And why do we have Premier Cru above Grand Cru and then Premier Cru, and then do you know what I mean? And it's not until you're there that you really start to understand why things happen. So now I would literally just visit and then just go, okay, let's taste some wines, go see some winemakers, and then try and understand it like that, and maybe to be a bit more social rather than the actual work as such.
Yeah, why go for work? Really?
No, totally.
Like, I am so lucky, like, I don't know how everybody else feels being in wine, but I'm so lucky that I stumbled upon this as my career path. Now, I don't really think of it as a career because I literally live and breathe it. So as I was saying, everything connects back to wine. So if it's art, I'm looking at art, I'm like, how do I make that connect back to my main creative pursuit, which is wine? And then what about this music? And like, other winemakers, I'm sure, are the same, but everything relates back to wine, or my brand, or my art, you know, like my own art on it, and whatever. And I feel very like lucky that I've got something that is so interesting and that changes so much because vintage changes. So you can, if you're a big commercial place, you can be a bit more recipe. But if you're being a small place, you have to change with the season. You can't, like, I don't think that's way more authentic to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of I mean, there's a place for those sort of, you know, consistent recipe made type wines, as far as sort of, I guess,
supermarkets.
Yeah, and for some, you know, I sort of hold a torch to some of that, because it does, you know, create a place of comfort for a lot of our community. You know, like getting people sort of, you know, confident in drinking wine, because it is intimidating. You know, like that's the thing. You know, for someone who has been drinking oyster-based Sauvignon Blanc for a really long time and loves it, how are they going to feel about trying your wine? You know, like it's one of those, you know, that's a hurdle, right? That's the hurdle we've got to sort of overcome. Is there's some bloody good gear out there, man, and if you just drink oyster-based Sauvignon Blanc for your entire life, fuck, you've missed some good juice.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting. I think New Zealand and New Zealand drinkers are quite conservative, and a lot of that probably stems from where we actually do come from. So there's not a massive...
Yeah, we're all Scottish.
Right. You know?
Or Irish.
Or Irish.
Irish or Māori.
Or Māori, that's
Samoan or Tongan or whatever, and you're like... Whereas in, say, Australia, where we were lots of Italians, lots of Greeks, lots of Eastern Europeans, wine is like a really massive thing. But also here, I think supermarkets don't really help a great deal. Like being able to buy inside the supermarket just like you'd buy your cheese or buy whatever. I think that's probably made it a little bit more commercial.
And do you think in Australia that may be a cultural thing in Australia too, because of the kind of cultural makeup that sort of sits in Australia? The idea of that sort of European, you do go to the best guy who makes bread, you go and get your bread from them. The guy that makes the best cheese, you go and get your bread from them, your cheese from them, and you pick up your wine from the guy who makes the best wine. So is that sort of almost because there's wine in supermarkets in Australia, right?
Yeah, in places next to supermarkets. So not when you have to go out of the supermarket and then get it.
God, how the hell did I not know that?
Yeah, and then that's like Liquorland and stuff like that. But then when you think about Dan Murphy's, which gets, in my opinion, probably a little bit of a bad rap, even though they control a lot of the market. Yeah. They actually have like some pretty interesting wines in there now.
Oh fuck, I didn't even realise that. How did I not know that?
Yeah, so
it's really interesting.
You can't kind of go
between our markets. So sort of to that point, having released your 3 wines, how long ago?
September. Start of September.
Been in the trade trying to sort of get it out there. Yep. How are you feeling it's been received, and especially, having come from living in a city like Melbourne, which is a sophisticated wine city. Yeah, very,
there's obviously straight away you just say the size is quite different. Yeah. The spread of that same size is quite different. So say you could say there's 5 million people in New Zealand, but there's 5 million people in Melbourne. Yeah. But then there's only 2 million people, 2 million people I think in Auckland. And so it's spread quite a bit. And then you've got like Christchurch and Dunedin, and I haven't tried to sell down there yet. I'm kind of just focused on Wellington and Auckland a little bit. So straight away the size is quite small, but then you can then say, we in Australia, there's more of a culture of eating out during the week. So even the pubs, like we've lost all of our great pubs and stuff like that through the years, probably because of like the 6 o'clock swill and all of these things. Like we don't have the pubs that they used to have, and then in Aussie the pubs are still there, and then there's a culture of going out. Like I'll take my kids to the pub, and because it was more of a communal kind of thing, almost like Irish in the sense it was like your living room a bit more.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas here it's not quite like that. It's more like you go to people's houses on a Friday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you have a barbecue, and you go to someone's house and you pick up a bottle of wine at the supermarket maybe, and so that's kind of led to probably a stronger independent retail scene over there, and a stronger on-premise scene, I think, too. And I think even for me, I'll be much more willing to spend a bit of money on a glass of wine. That's really interesting, rather than maybe a bottle of wine, And so over there you get a little bit more kind of glassing, and so because you're out more, you've got the chance to then have that glass.
Try a bit more.
Yeah, and so whereas here it's like, oh no, I've got to buy a whole bottle because I'm at the supermarket or whatever. I'm just going to go for this.
So I never thought about that too. You're in the supermarket, you've grabbed your rotisserie chicken. Oh shit, I'll just grab that, sort of average price Chardonnay just to go with it because I'm off to my mates for dinner and I'm bringing them, for to get there. So there's no thought process really, is there? Whereas when you do actually have to go to the store, to the specific store to buy the wine,
you put a bit more thought into, I've gone into the wine store, so I'm going to make this trip count kind of thing.
And I guess the wine store then also does the same thing in return, right? Because the wine store itself will do that sort of, designing the environment.
There's much more of an interaction and chat about wine, I feel, I've noticed coming back to New Zealand in Australia.
Yeah.
Even in restaurants and bars, there's a lot more of, what are you excited about and what are you pouring at the moment? What would you recommend? Whereas I don't know whether it's where we are at with our stage of drinking culture, but we don't like to ask about what people would like. Consumers are not asking experts what they should be drinking. They're still... They know Sauvignon and they know Pinot, so that's where they go.
And I think that is that fair kind of thing. And I think as a wine community, we haven't really done ourselves that justice.
Doing a shit job.
Totally. I've got mates who are in advertising. They have good money, or graphics or whatever. Yeah, they've got good money. They're late 30s, early 40s, so it's a lot of disposable. Cash, and they're more willing to spend $25 on a 6-pack or even a 4-pack of Garage Project. Good bloody beer. But they're more willing to do that than they are to spend a $25 on a bottle of wine, and then wine has to come from a fully different place, has different conditions, less probably. And so you're kind of like, oh, and I don't just blame them. Like, you can't, like, we're not idiots. Kiwis aren't idiots. It's like we have to go out there too and go, hey guys, have a look at this, and and show and do things that are accessible, and doesn't necessarily have to be different.
I think that's one of the things I find really exciting about people like yourself, Dave, is because the tradition of winemaking, the art of winemaking, is what is so fucking brilliant and beautiful and romantic and, you know, incredible about it. But the more we continue to tell that story in the old traditional boring, you know, this is what the consumer expects, so this is what we must give them kind of way.
And also telling them what they're tasting. That's what I find about a lot of wine media in New Zealand at the moment, is like they tell you what to taste. It's like, well,
totally,
you know, like,
so you're saying just tell a story and then you
tell a story.
You make your own mind up.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Put it in a glass and ask if they like it.
Yeah, rather than sort of like, you know,
dictating to people.
And saying all of that, there's a lot of like positivity around with like places that are, you know, doing some pretty interesting stuff. You know, like the Peachy Ufa guys, they're only like 2 years old or whatever. You know, all these little spots are coming up, and I think a lot of people moving back after like COVID lockdowns and whatever, people are wanting a little bit more. But it's also like getting out there and like, I don't know how to do that whole drawing in, and it's not so much teaching, it's just making people aware of what the wines are that are out there, and
well, it's
kind of holding people's hands a little bit.
Invitational rather than prescribed. Like it's sort of like we're telling you this stuff's good, so you should be trying it. It's kind of got to be.
It's not never going to work.
No, that's right. That's why having beautiful labels and things is so great, because that's like, man, that's a fuck, that bottle looks cool.
You're so drawn to it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so, having sort of produced the styles that you do from a region that, you know, you might say is. It's quite classic or conservative in terms of the usual styles being produced. Is there any sort of how do you feel that's being received in the industry down there? Because there's yourself and people like Amy at Halcyon Days, and the Three Fates team, Amy at Amoise, that I would say are producing quite unconventional wines for the region.
Yeah. I don't talk to huge amounts. Like, I guess, like I showed to a couple dudes that kind of give me a bit of like side eye. Like, I don't know what that kind of meant, but I think everyone's pretty receptive to just sell more Hawke's Bay wine, to tell you the truth. Like, and wherever that is. And what I saw in Australia was we were at the kind of start of doing orange wines. So 2008, me and Steve made our first orange wine pretty much with Salo Chardonnay. So 2008 was, 14, 15 years ago. Then 2012 was when I did Smokestack Lightning, which was skin contact, Pinot Gris and Gewürztraminer and whatever. And back then it was probably only one of maybe 10 that you would kind of see around the place, you know. But then from there you now have, you know, the larger people doing supposed natural stuff or organics, or doing skin contact white wines or whatever. So I think we're kind of at that stage, that little bit earlier stage, where we can help to maybe open up wines on things, whether they're winemakers or whatever. There's still always going to be a place of commercial wines out of the Hawke's Bay. Like, it needs to be like that.
I reckon too.
But just like creating a bit of colour to the whole scene too, and I think everybody will be appreciative of that.
There's that sort of middle tier boutique wine producer too that I sort of worry a lot about. Because I love them dearly, and they're the backbone of, you know, they're the ones that have built the industry here, and they're now at the point where financially taking a risk of making something that might be a bit more nuanced or different or experimental, even if they desperately would love to, it feels like massive commercial risk. And I think...
Not if it's only like 100 dozen, or... Do you know what I mean? Like fully shifting yourself. Maybe it doesn't then quite fit with their story and what their story they've created over the last 20 years or something like that. But as a winemaker personally, I think, man, you got to be trialing stuff. You got to be playing around. Like, that's the whole fun of it. It's like each year you just you do something quite different and whatever. But I get that commercial thing.
Well, suddenly there's, you know, if you're big enough to have a distributor, then suddenly there's a distributor conversation. It's like, well, the distributor, in my experience, the distributor will turn around and say, hey, that's all very well and good, but we can't really fucking sell that, mate. Like, that's not really that viable
what do you
for
want
us.
to do with it?
So we can't really sell that. So you make it and then you sell it. So then you've got someone who's got to be a farmer, an artist, experimental, take all the financial risk and also sell that shit.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's where the wine industry itself, you know, like people like yourself and Amy and Ollie and you know, like Penn and Nicholas down at Black Snake, people like those guys who are actually sort of working together to sort of, I don't know, back each other a bit and kind of help tell that story in a more kind of, I don't know, just help each other along with it. Yeah, that's right.
And that's what we try and do as much as we can, especially the Hawke's Bay kind of focused and the smaller kind of Hawke's Bay, more interesting, lower alcohol kind of things. Yeah, there has to be, it's not like a movement as such, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just more, but it's also like just talking with people that you really like. And I don't think it's like one or the other. Like you could kind of think of it like a sort of push or a pull strategy kind of stuff where like, do you get pulled along by the consumer or do you push it onto the consumer? And you got to do a little bit of a mix, but also you got to be talking with restaurateurs saying, especially for me, I've had that experience in Melbourne, like, you can sell these, you know, like people are pretty keen on these things. And yeah, you just have to bridge that, get over that little fear kind of thing. And I think it's slowly coming. Like I can see a lot of positivity and it's in the wine community here at the moment, and also restaurants and stuff. Hopefully the economics, like wider economic situation doesn't hamper that. But also if you look at it on a export focus thing, and New Zealand has to rely on export. Like it's a massive one, and maybe those export channels have been quite conservative also.
The most conservative. So like,
you know, cheap Sauvignon and an expensive Pinot Noir. You know, that's what New Zealand's known for, sadly.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
There's so much potential to do more than that. The vineyards that we've got here and what they look like and the situation that we have and the environment that we have is incredible. The potential is like amazing. People still love New Zealand stuff, but
I think we're on a real. I think New Zealand's doing so well at the moment. You know, we've got such a great reputation offshore, and I think, you know, from an export point of view, I think that's exactly the place we're flying that flag of being unique and handcrafted and innovative and free. I mean, that's actually what we're known for in any other category. You're a fascinating dude, Dave, and I think
thanks for your time.
Aussie's loss is New Zealand's gain, getting you back here.
Yeah,
and
big time.
Yeah. And
I've just been in Melbourne and people are talking about you leaving.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I was over there recently. Like, it's an amazing city, eh? Like, if you're a Kiwi that has not been to Melbourne, there's so many Kiwis over there, and they all wear black, so we fit in like perfectly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So no, it's a great kind of spot, and look, we had a great time over there. 16 years, I learned so much, like giant steps, and then you know that, and what you were saying before, being the, you know, knowing vineyard, knowing winemaking, knowing selling, the marketing, the graphics, all of that. I learned all of that over there.
Are you going to put any of your artworks available in printed form, or like proper artworks?
I talked to my mates. So these are all my artworks that are on canvases or pieces of wood, ply, whatever. I talked to him. We need to take some more photos because I took it on my iPhone and then sent it to him. So the quality's pretty terrible, but I'll probably look at something like that. I don't know.
Oh, well, if you ever want to do a follower giveaway, it'd be really cool to be able to do a Kenzie original Dave Mackenzie artwork.
Yeah, for sure. And look,
it's so cool to do something like that.
Yeah, no,
maybe for some charity or something like that.
Yeah.
Something, you know. Yeah, I really do.
Hit me up. No, it's good fun. It's like I've always done it, so it's like it comes naturally to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time. Like wine's really wine. You just have to do it because it like jumps on you.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like you cannot not harvest.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless you want to do late harvest, you know, like Saturnsy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas with wine, it's like it's always art. It's like a constant battle between motivation and time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm motivated to do heaps of art, but I'm like, I've got to go pick up the kids, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the other way around, where you've got heaps of time, where you're just like, I can't be asked, man. So art's a really weird one like that.
But that's part of the magic of it, isn't it? I mean, that in a lot of ways correlates with how nature works too. Mother Nature this year, not so much sun, maybe a little bit more rain. Okay, well, that's what this artwork's going to look like this year. Then, you know, that's sort of the whole parallel. You're living the ultimate full circle there, Dave. I love it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep, no worries. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Great afternoon.
Right on. Thanks very much for listening to Not Serious Wine Chats. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd just like to take a moment to thank our mates at Antipodes Water Company for their support.